Tough Call Mediation is brought to you by Ehler Mediation and Legal Services, serving your mediation and legal service needs in Ontario, New York, and throughout North America. You can reach us at info@ehlerservices.com or go to our website at ehlerservices.com. That's EHLER services.com.
Hello, and welcome to Tough Call, a mediation podcast. My name is CT Ehler, and introducing my friend. He is a great, interesting person. His name is Mr. Dale Sheldon. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. He is not a mediator, though. So when you are asking us, why is it a mediation podcast? I am the certified mediator in acting in a professional capacity. Dale is not.
I am unprofessional.
Well, you're professional in other capacities. Yeah. And
so I can bring that, like maybe the client perspective.
The
sometimes.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yes. And we have people planned to speak on this podcast from different walks of life, because I want to speak with people who can look at ways of resolving conflict. I love introducing the general public to mediators, lawyers, paralegals, therapists, and wellness practitioners. But that said, there are many people who have lived experience or are storytellers or provide historical analysis or even great creative works of fiction that offer brilliant insight to how we can, resolve our disputes. Mediation is really setting a table and providing an opportunity for people to create an action plan. So it's, I get a lot of people asking me, what is a mediator? What is mediation? And the truth of it is, it's not about therapy and it's not about the law. It's helpful to have legal training. So I trained as a paralegal, and in Ontario, I'm licensed to practice a scope that allows me to represent clients independently of lawyers, just like in California, and soon to be more and more in some other states and provinces. But mediation theoretically could be done by anybody. But when you become certified and trained, you're providing an opportunity for people to create an agreement. People who have different conflicts and they don't want to go to the court. They don't want to necessarily involve their dispute through that's almost incorrect because there is court appointed dispute. There is for mediation. So you can be put into mediation at any point along the judicial process. But private mediation is something that parties can go and hire a private mediator and say, listen, I want to try to resolve this civil dispute beforehand. And it's very helpful to have a whole variety of resources and tools to also find people who have different perspectives for some creative problem solving. So I think it's really important to talk to, as I said, wellness practitioners or whatnot. Like, how do you reduce stress? Because coming to a conflict resolution meeting, alternative dispute resolution meeting is really stressful. It's not a fun time.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. And I think the thing is a lot of people, when I started talking about this podcast, I almost started to see people's eyes glaze over because it's peace, right? Peace is not exciting. It's sad. It's sad to say, but people are more interested in the drama than they are in.
Yeah, I never understood why that is, but it's true.
Well, we had look at Snow White or those Disney tales or the Brothers Grimm. You know, the prince or they had this terrible conflict. They overcame, and then they lived happily ever after, which is implied that there is some peaceful existence that no one needs to talk about because there was no more conflict ever again. And that's not true. Most of us, as we age, we start realizing the daily slog of life sometimes brings its own conflict. I gotta get out of bed.
Have you seen the musical Into the Woods by Stephen Sondheim?
No, I haven't actually.
It is all about what happens after the happily ever after.
And I'll bet there's conflict, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much conflict. So much conflict. Yes. I mean, I wouldn't say that's what it's all about, but it's fantastic. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And so I think there are so many people who, especially when we're young and impetuous and we're so excited and we're learning a lot, we don't want to stick around to learn how, or we've had authority figures resolve things for us. Like our parents are resolving things for us, or the principal's office has someone who's disciplining us or showing us and guiding us. Here's how the behavior. That's how you have to think of court. I joke that a judge is a principal for adults.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
But the thing is a lot of people expect to win. And they go in and they try to get their lawyers or paralegals or legal representative to promise them that they're going to help them and make them win. And that is not the case. And even if you do win, in quotations, that doesn't necessarily mean the outcome or remedy that's proposed is really what you anticipated all along.
Yeah.
And in assisting people in legal capacity, sometimes there are people who are so invested in the fight that they can't even see that they won. And that's why I think it's a huge disservice for people to be picking on lawyers. So here I am, a rare person who's a mediator and paralegal who stands up for lawyers, because I've learned the hard way that you can have people who are very invested in a long, grinding conflict process because they have this desire to win at all costs. And a lawyer can advise them not to do it. And if there's nothing terribly wrong about continuing to represent someone who still wants to go to court, they're going to stay, okay, well, I will assist you to the best of my ability to help you continue to fight in court. But that takes a long time, over potentially years, and that adds up. So something that you might envision costs $1,000, which to a lot of people is quite a large sum of money.
Yeah.
But then 2-3 years down the road, you're suddenly paying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and you think, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's really sad when I've had people try to approach me as a mediator and they've actually gone the court route. And I've discovered through the course of speaking with them that the lawyer did try to offer them a mediation or alternative resolution process, but they said no. And then it got too long and costly for them, so they could no longer afford the lawyer. So then they want to try mediation, and then they think I'm going to do it for free. I was like, well, no, this is how much it costs. Well, I don't want to pay that because, look, I've already paid this much money to the court. Okay, but I'm a privately hired mediator, and I'm not legal aid. I'm not a free service. So I still got to eat. I still got to feed my kids. And yeah, I'm not as costly, but maybe you should have thought about that before you went off and spent 10, 20 plus $1,000 through a very agonizing, painful process, because a lot of people forget, okay, yeah, I'm going to wait for the court. But their lives don't go on hold while the court is going through their process. It's still happening. It's still in motion, but your life continues.
Especially if the other side keeps putting on delays and getting extensions. And,
Or even if you have to extend for any
whatever
reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's the conflict may still even be going on in your life. Or if it's a work-related, or you've separated but not divorced from someone, or you have some sort of other type of situation. And I should be very mindful to say that this is, it's not the criminal process. This is the civil litigation side. When we get into alternative dispute resolution for the criminal side, that's what restorative justice is. And mediators can play a role in restorative justice initiatives, but it's quite different, right? And so I would love to talk about restorative justice, but for now, I think it's important that we focus more on how people might want to even look at tips for conflict resolution within themselves. Because sometimes there's a conflict that's been brewing and you're trying to navigate conflict yourself. There's a lot of dramas and shows and great content creators and social media that will show things like, am I the asshole? And Dale, it was you who actually brought up the idea that we could use "Am I the asshole?" reflections.
Was it?
It was. And we could just use it from a mediation lens, because some people, you'll see them going, well, why do I always seem to find the, girlfriend or the boyfriend or the boss, or why do I always attract these people in my life? Well, that's another reason why it's handy for us to send you maybe to therapy, because we're not there to address and dig deep into your past or to your emotions. It really is about an action plan.
Yeah.
It's about, okay, this thing happened. The past has already gone on. But in order to move forward, what are you going to do? How are you going to implement something that allows you to either continue working with this family member? Because I am quite passionate about elder mediation. And the thing is it's not necessarily, oh, mom or dad is now so old and we have to decide what we're going to do with them, because they're unable to care for themselves in their own house. It's also a certain amount of wills and estate planning of, let's get together and discuss this now.
Yeah.
Before the parent is unable and incapacitated. And how, if we have a dispute amongst us siblings, how are we going to look at this and involving the parents? And I love when a parent will come in and say, listen, I need to resolve this with my children because they're already fighting over it and I'm not even dead yet.
Right.
It's just like, wow. Yeah. But you might want to let them in on a couple of things.
It's like, and that's when you just want the peace.
Right.
At that time of your life.
Yes.
You don't want to be going through that.
Yes. And also a lot of people think of wills and estates as just the money and who gets the house when you die, but it's also when incapacity happens, the living will, like who is helping you make those medical decisions, who helps you pay the bills when you can no longer pay it yourself because you don't remember anymore, or people who run businesses. You have to think of succession planning and whatnot. And if you have a family run business and you have multiple children, but really there's only one person who takes the reins, you might want to have a conversation with a neutral party there that's helping you.
Yeah.
Because there might be several of your children who totally anticipate taking over when you die. And there's many television shows, that are dedicated to power struggles among siblings and families.
So many.
So many. Because it's such a natural thing that we do.
Yeah. Knives Out.
Yes.
Great movie.
And then also there's mediators on an international scale. So peacekeeping and peace process planning. I mean, right now, there are a lot of very large scale disputes that are happening in the world. And I don't want to minimize them by saying, oh, isn't it so great that someone's, bringing tea and cookies to the Gaza Strip to sit and chat with Palestinians and Israelis. No, that's not really what happens. But there are aspects of mediation that happens in that conflict resolution. Even though it's happening in the Ukraine right now, there's a lot of large-scale nation-to-nation conflict resolutions. Also in business, in technology, there are certain people that want to have intellectual property over things. And I also, like Dale, brought up a great suggestion as well. I'm giving you kudos for it again? Because you thought, why don't we just even take a look at some famous, not comedy, but fiction and movies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Great works of art, historical figures, and look at how they managed conflict, how they mediated conflict. And I think that will be really interesting to probe as a mediator, how we can do those things. Yeah.
So we've learned a lot about already what mediation is.
Hopefully.
The
process of discovery continues.
Yeah. How did you get into mediation?
I didn't want you to ask me that, but that's okay. I mean, that's fair. Listeners, I suppose you need to get to know me. I've done a lot of different things. This is my third career, but when I was in high school and university, I worked in daycares, and I thought, okay, I don't really want to be a teacher. I really like helping people, though, and I'm very interested in how lawmakers and people who advocate can really change the world. Of course, I was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi and, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and finding out that Gandhi was a lawyer was very, oh, wow, that's amazing. And how many politicians and statespeople had legal training. It got me interested in that. And so, of course, I went off to the university and joined the Law Society and whatnot. But then I became a bit disillusioned. I think my biggest mistake was going to the University of Toronto and meeting a whole bunch of people who were very much at the time, because this was the 90s, because I'm old. Laws change, lawyers are different now, but back then it was very adversarial, and the presentation towards me as an aspiring lawyer was, ha ha ha, isn't it great? You're going to be one of us, and you're going to have all of these special perks because you're going to fleece your clients. Like, like billable hours. And it really bothered me. I got so upset. And I was very disillusioned, especially after a particular meeting of us undergraduate law society. Like we were a student body out of Hart House, and they were prancing us around and being like, when you're in U of T law school, you're going to be one of us because we accept articling students from U of T, and you're going to be so special, and you're going to be doing all of this. And this is when you get to wear these power suits and you get to join our society, and we're so powerful, and, flex, 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 flex. And I felt dirty as I was sitting there.
Where's the integrity in that?
It really started to bother me. And then we all got into the elevator. As this is actually kind of hard for me to talk about because this was actually a very pivotal part of my life and my life choices. We all pile into the elevator. And as the doors close to go down, everyone else is ecstatic and elated, and they're all bubbling, and they're all making the jokes. Oh, ha, 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 billable hours, ha, ha, ha. Oh, pish posh, we're going to be one of them. And as we're descending, this very sinking, I wanted to melt into the floor. I thought, what have I done? What am I doing with my life? And I was very depressed, and I wouldn't admit it to myself. And I didn't know that I had, severe anxiety at the time. So I was having these types of panic attacks too that I could not.
Especially as a lawyer, you're supposed to control that.
Well,
that anxiety. You're
maybe.
not supposed to show it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
You're supposed to keep your cool in court and that kind of thing.
Maybe, but I think what it was more is just this extreme, this is not what I had signed up for.
Right. Yeah.
And I have invested so much of my time. And also at the time I was doing LSAT preps. And I actually have very severe, debilitating test anxiety. So Dale, maybe one day I'll talk about it. I've actually been accosted and knifed in an alley. That's for a future story. I've had really terrible, traumatic things happen to me, but none of it can hold a candle to walking into a standardized test and taking a test within a certain amount of period. Like full scale panic. It's not good for me.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'm just full disclosure audience, and for you, Dale, if ever you and I go to a pub trivia night.
I love those.
Okay.
Pub quiz. Woohoo.
All right. Okay. So, if you want to win, if you're competitive at all,
no, not really.
But if you are, the advantages to you, I'm telling you the secret right now, put me on the other team. And then you will win.
Oh, okay.
Because that put on the spot, even if I know the answer, I have my freeze. There's the different types of fear responses. There's the fight, flight, fear, freeze, appease. I'm a freezer. I'm a total freezer. I'm a deer in headlights. And I have this mini panic attack. I'm like, I know this, but I don't know this. Oh my God. Ah! And it's not good.
You can't pull it from the file in the back of your head because you're frozen. Yeah.
Sometimes it can work, but also what can happen is under those extremes, I get a bit of, there's a type of blindness that I can have where I can get very sure of the absolute wrong answer. And I can be very like,
right.
It is this, what color is the Canadian flag?
It's blue. I know it's blue.
It must be blue. It is absolutely blue. I know it is.
Yeah.
And then I walk out.
And it's a pot leaf.
Yeah. I walk out of the testing thing and it's like, oh my gosh, it's red and white. What is wrong with me?
Like
and I'm Canadian. What is wrong with me? It's just it's the pressure of it that my brain goes a little pear-shaped is all that happens. And, so I ran away. I go and I become an au pair in Europe, and then, which is kind of like a nanny. And then I decide I'm going to be a teacher, and I go teach overseas in Asia. And then I get tired of being, I stop liking other people's children. Not really them, but I start not liking the process, the administration. I started finding it very stressful. And I had an eat, pray, love moment. and it got me interested in clinical massage therapy. So I also became a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, and I got into all that sort of wellness and self-care and pain management because I have a broken spine as well. And so I have some invisible disabilities and whatnot. So I was very keen on practicing that for a long time until COVID and everything shut down. And I wasn't allowed to work for a while. And my husband's American, and his workplace ordered him to come back to America. And I'd already brought him to Canada to be a permanent resident. And so we were, we had spent about 6 years in Canada. We had a house, all of that. And then suddenly he has to go back. And this is we found this vaccine, and everyone was still indoors and they were required not to leave. And it was just a really interesting time. And so I thought, well, let's invert the process. Let's buy a house on the American side. Let's sell our house. I'll move in to my parents' back space, and I'll just, start applying. And once we're on the American side of the border, I can still work in Canada. My parents are elderly. I have to watch after them. We still have life and ties in Canada, but let's just, go to the American side of the border now. And so I thought I need something more clerical. And I realized my whole life I had been a natural mediator dedicated to peace process. I'd worked as a volunteering capacity for, say, Amnesty International for a long time and all sorts of things like that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to become a paralegal, but my love is in mediation. And back then, when I wanted to be a lawyer, one of my biggest disappointments was, and I kept asking mentors and people, I was like, why aren't we doing some sort of private dispute resolution? Oh, do you mean arbitration? No. Why can't people resolve disputes themselves first? Why can't they try to resolve it? You mean arbitration? No, that's not what I meant. Because in the 90s, it was still so focused on adversarial. Even though mediation had been around for some time, it just isn't as popular as it is now in the 21st century, especially in the 2020s. Now in 2024, more and more and more people are aware of mediation. Yeah. It's permeating the courts. It's starting to become an option. And I would love people to have a chance to know more about it and also learn some of those important conflict resolution strategies that I think are really helpful for anyone to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice
absolutely.
If we weren't always just, trying to have our own personal Jerry Springer show every day.
Yeah, it can help in your everyday life.
Oh, yeah. Fun fact, when I was living in the Netherlands, there were people love Jerry Springer.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. I remember seeing all sorts of things about Jerry Springer. And even when I was out about meeting Dutch people, they would be like, oh, I would love to be on Jerry Springer. Do you like Jerry Springer? No.
Just the spectacle of it. Silly Americans again. It did make us look terrible. Because I know people thought that's like an average American.
Maybe, but I think they also just love the drama of these disputes that went completely out of hand.
It was almost all made up.
Yeah.
They're usually actors.
Or
No, a lot of them were absolutely actors because I know some of them.
Right. But there was that true crime that came out of it too. The guy that got murdered for when the guy said he was in love with him. Yes.
Yeah. No. Well, and that was very early on too. Mm-hmm. Like they were more and more scripted, acting, contrived. I wouldn't say scripted because it was more ad lib, but as it went on, it was less and less real.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure Jerry Springer privately was a very lovely man. But
I've heard that he absolutely was.
yeah, but him running this show, I did watch it a couple of times, and I just thought, I can't.
I couldn't watch it either. It's just trash.
And
it's a terrible show.
It's sort of pre-reality show, but it was sort of what like the 90s version of what reality television was like.
Reality was just starting in the 90s too.
Yeah.
So it was right around that same time.
Also, he was up there with even...
The Real World came out in 93, 92.
Oh, really?
Something
that early?
like that? Yeah, it's very early.
Well, I never really watched it. I just kept hearing about it. And they're like, you've got to watch it. Oh, thank God I never watched that. Yeah.
No, well, okay. The first couple of seasons were actually very good.
Okay, I remember when Survivor came out and how many people got super into it.
That's different.
And I so many people watched the first Survivor.
Yeah.
I remember watching it.
No, well, by the time Survivor came out, it was already contrived. But the first few seasons of Real World, they were truly like normal, real people. All young, very young people, but they weren't models. They were trying to just make it in the world and figure out their lives. It was very, very good. Yeah. You should see it the first couple of seasons. Then it starts getting stupid.
Maybe we'll have to do this for an episode.
Yeah. You should watch it. It's probably on YouTube.
Okay, so I've kind of droned on about my boring life. But what I thought would be really fun to do is also, listeners, as you start picking up on this and meeting some of our amazing guests that we have lined up, because we do have some really great treats out there. And we have some really exciting episodes planned that we hope that you will weigh in on and give us some feedback. But I also wanted to explain a little bit about, the cover art, about the why I chose Norman Rockwell's painting. So what few people don't understand is Norman Rockwell's painting is actually called Tough Call. And it's a sports analogy about an umpire and in baseball making a tough call, a decision that it is more of that judicial decision maker or arbiter. But I also really like how it's a great metaphor for people who have to make tough calls in the time of conflict. And I think that's a focus of what I would like to bring in a bit of, when are things tough, but how do we navigate our way out of it? And, I know people, don't like, when I was shopping this around, what do you think of the cover art? What do you think of this? Some people are like, why did you pick Norman Rockwell? Ugh. But I don't know. I liked it. I think he sends a certain message. He was someone of a very particular time, and he encapsulates idea that is very easy to get. There's no abstract grasping at straws.
Yeah, he depicted moments in life, just moments in life, common Americana moments.
Yeah, and the scope of mediation, because, theoretically, anyone can be a mediator and be anywhere, but a lot of certified mediators are able to be throughout North America. So, we're going to be talking to different mediators or different people who resolve conflict from all sorts, parts of America, parts of Canada. Maybe we might get some UK listeners or Australian or New Zealand or South African at some point. That would be interesting. Yeah. Just to see. I have a lot of Indian friends too, so it would be nice to see how they do mediation.
Maybe interesting to hear some French or German or,
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah,
most of them speak English. You can be honest.
Yeah, so here's the thing is we've set up email. So it's toughcallmediation@gmail.com. So you can write into us. We have some fledgling social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram as For TikTok, I don't know.
I'm trying to convince her. This actually would do very well on TikTok because any conflict just goes wild on TikTok.
I know, but we'll have to find a volunteer. Maybe Hope.
It does dredge the bottom of TikTok usually. You get all the worst people, and you start to think, how am I living in the world with these people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was talking to Hope. Hope Ersick is going to be our social media manager down the line when we can afford her. And I was even telling her about my reluctance to get on TikTok. I do have a channel. I tried, everybody. I tried to get it going, but I'm not a TikTok person. I'm a long format person, obviously. My intro is going on and on and on.
Yeah.
But I also like
you can do up to 10 minutes now on TikTok.
Oh, well, maybe you will convert me one day. I don't know. It's still very difficult for me.
I love when it just cuts off and you're just mid sentence. Wait for part 2.
Well, I think that's the thing is it's going to take so long. I would talk about anything else before getting on social media, and it's really hard for me to do it, which is it's something I have to do as a self-employed person who runs a firm. But it's tough, and it's a tough call. But I also am. I talk about sports. I know, Dale, you don't like it.
I know nothing about sports.
Oh, I am
it's just
so
Peanuts
here
parents
for
when
it.
Talk, womp, 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 womp.
Well, I watch Super Bowl every year with my husband. I mean, no hate, people, but I have agreed to be a fan of the Vikings because he's a Viking fan. And we know how people
I'm
feel.
so bad. I'm like, is that Texas? I don't even know where.
No, it's Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Why is he Minnesota?
There's a story.
Okay.
There's the lore.
Another time.
The lore of football runs deep, and he has tried to teach me and bring me, and I've been married to him for over a decade, and still there are things that he still has to repeat to me, and he'll tell me names, and I'm like, yeah, I don't remember. He's like, I've been telling you this for 10 years. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm here for Super Bowl. But my football.
I don't know if one game a year can really qualify you as a sports fan. But all right.
I'm here for the other type of football, the soccer football.
Yeah, European football.
It's a 4-year commitment to watch FIFA. I don't have to care
That's true.
for 4 years. I mean, even the Olympics happen more often.
Yeah.
So I love it. It is very low commitment on my end, but years and years and years ago, because I lived in the Netherlands, I picked the Netherlands team and I live for them. And this past FIFA, when the Americans and the Canadians got to Qatar, I was very excited and very proud that they were representing the countries. It was awesome. Dale's like, blink. Blink.
Yeah, blink. I mean, I will support any British team because I have so much English ancestry, and Schalke in Germany. Schalke is a team in Germany.
Sure.
Because I had ancestors from Schalke. I know nothing about the team. I don't know if they're any good or not. I don't know any of their names. I just learned that there was a team there in Schalke.
And I did do competitive basketball at one point in my life, very briefly. And I'm from Toronto, so I love the fact that the Raptors won. Actually, I don't follow basketball that much. They won something. Oh, yeah, the Toronto Raptors. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Raptors.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you meant like Snoop Dogg.
No.
Rappers.
No. The Toronto Raptors basketball, here for it. I'm a Canadian and I'm supposed to love hockey. Don't. Sorry, but
I think I would like hockey. I've never seen a hockey game, but I feel like I might like it.
I'll introduce you to the only thing that I like to say about hockey is from Stompin' Tom Connors. The good old hockey game is the best game you can name. Yeah.
Okay.
It's great.
It's a radio guy?
No, he was very old Canadian country and Western. He wrote the Ketchup song.
Okay.
Yep. And he wrote the hockey game song.
Don't know the Ketchup song or the hockey game song.
I have to introduce you to Stompin' Tom Connors. So Canadian fans out there who know Stompin' Tom, you know. And because I'm Toronto, I will forever be a Leafs fan supporter. Baseball, Blue Jays fan supporter. Just, so when people say, oh, them's fighting words, I got to tell you about how much I hate the Leafs or the Jays. I'm like, I just automatically support them because they are my hometown peeps. So
I played tennis in high school. Does that count as something?
Hey.
But even then I was so theater that I had to time my serve to the beginning of Hamlet's soliloquy to be or not to ask the question.
So you didn't follow like Venus and Serena Williams at all. You're like, who
God,
that?
No. No, well, I think I was before their time, right? I would think when I was in high school. That was a very long time ago. No. It was the one class that I seemed the least sporty to me, like because I had to take a PE class,
right?
So I was like, okay, I'm not going to run. I'm not going to do track. I mean, I can't play football or basketball or baseball. I can't swim. So I guess it's tennis. That's all that's left. And I could mostly stay in one square and just hit the ball back and forth.
Oh dear. Well, so then
I actually did okay though.
Okay, well there you go. I mean, I 2008, I didn't realize I had broke my spine. So it makes sense now, but because I was living in Thailand during that point, I decided I wanted to do some mixed martial arts, Muay Thai fighting. And I went to some trainings and I was so beat up the next day. Oh my God. It was, I went to a couple of Muay Thai matches and I was so there. And I was also in Derby. Shout out to my roller derby sisters. It's just, I never got too far, unfortunately, because it turns out when I joined Derby, I had a broken spine. And I didn't know.
While you were saying, I started to laugh to myself because I was thinking,
you're like, she broke her spine. It's funny.
No, I was thinking the only like martial arts that I think seems interesting to me is the Brazilian one. And I was
because of capoeira.
Capoeira, yeah. Except in my head, I was wanting to call it caipirinha, which is an alcohol drink in Brazil.
Where they just like smash each other with the bottles or something in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so sports fans, you have a bone to pick about mediation. You need something mediated. I'm here for it. Dale might not be.
Yeah. I'll try.
If you want a non-sports perspective with no mediation lens in it all,
my suggestion would be to go to the theater instead. Learn a lot of theater.
All right, so we're looking forward to chatting with you, hearing from you, participating, engaging with you every week on Mondays. We plan on dropping this, and we sincerely hope you like, rate, and subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you so much for listening today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now.
This podcast brought to you by Blush Productions. Our senior producer and editor is Tyrai Laughton. Tech advisor is Ken Ehler. Media by Hope Ersick. Original music by Tyrai Laughton. Email your questions to toughcallmediation@gmail.com. Like, rate, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Check out ehlerservices.com for more information.